الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين بعثه الله شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My beloved brothers and sisters, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say, may Allah Azza wa Jal bless every single one of you guys for attending these programs, to see so many young faces who want to learn, who want to progress, who want to enhance themselves in the deen. It's honestly something that brings utter joy to one's eyes. It really, really does. As you guys are aware, today we want to go through 10 golden principles pertaining to memorizing knowledge. This is not a heart-softening lecture. This is not some of the lectures that some of you guys may see on TikTok, even though I warn against it. I'm totally against it. We're trying to have a lesson, inshallah ta'ala, today, where we hope to be, idhnillahi ta'ala, take the right direction with regards to preserving this knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down. My brothers and my sisters, you may ask yourselves a question: what is the big deal when it comes to hifd? I can just note down knowledge. I can just note down knowledge because everyone who has come here today, right, has some sort of interest when it comes to memorizing. But this question is posed all the time, even surprisingly amongst students of knowledge, who would discourage others to memorize the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, guys. I was once pulled into a meeting when I was in Al-Madinah. And the whole point of contention was, why are you going around policing students to memorize the Quran? Right? When Sheikh bin Baz only assigned 10 juz to be memorized in the University of Al-Madinah, because that's what is part of the curriculum. Why are you going around like telling people that they need to memorize the Quran completely? Which may shock some of you guys. Yes. And you know who pulled me into a meeting? Someone who's doing his master's. Right? Which was absolutely shocking to me. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh at the time. Why memorization, brothers and sisters? Is it so important? We find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has encouraged this in His Quran. And likewise, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam encouraged it. Right? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. They are verses, ayat, right, that are clear and evident, that is being carried in the hearts of those who possess knowledge. Al-Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi, he said, أعطيت هذه الأمة الحفظ. This ummah has been gifted and granted memorization. وَكَانَ مِنْ قَبْلَهَا لَا يَقْرَؤُونَ كِتَابَهُمْ إِلَّا نَظَرًا. As for those who came before, right, many prophets were sent and they had scriptures and books with them, right? Their people would only recite these scrolls and these books that the prophets came with. They would only recite it, looking at the mushaf or the scrolls that they had. However, فَإِذَا أَطْبَقُوهُ لَمْ يَحْفَظُوا مَا فِيهِ إِلَّا النَّبِيُّونَ. And once they act upon the message, the only one who would memorize it would be the prophets. However, this ummah, right? This ummah, my brothers and my sisters, has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to safeguard the scripture that Allah Azza wa Jal has sent down, the Furqan, the Quran, by memorizing it, and they are carrying it in their hearts. Someone in Indonesia reads the same way you have someone who has memorized the Quran here in the UK. Right? I'll tell you guys something ajib. In Leicester, they gave me problems last year, Taraweeh, when I decided to start reading on Khalaf and Hamza. They tried to give me problems. Initially, there was no issues. But then some of the elders, they started causing a fiasco in the masjid. Right? Even though I explained everything at the beginning. It's always the elders, guys. So what happened, brothers and sisters? A French brother who I never met before started praying with us in the masjid. And then I heard, mashallah, that he's memorized the Quran and he even knows the riwayah of Hafs. He knows the riwayah of Khalaf. And we got him to lead. Just use this as an opportunity to grab the mic and tell them, look, you have this brother who came from France. I've never met him. We've never sat down to revise the Quran. However, he's reading exactly how I was reading. This is with a different riwayah. Allah Azza wa Jal has chosen to preserve His religion through that which men in today's day and age carry in their hearts. Right? When Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun," right? We send down this Quran. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikr, and we are going to preserve it. There's different ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves His Quran. Right? There are many ways to prove that the Quran is a miracle. Right? One of them is, subhanallah, you have people around the world, right, who have memorized a scripture, right, identical to one another. Subhanallah. And if someone now was to pronounce it incorrectly, he would be corrected even by the most youngest of people. Do you guys remember that video? It went pretty viral. That video of Sheikh Abdul Ghaffar Wardere. Sheikh Abdul Ghaffar, he was leading in one of the masjids here in East London, right? And he said, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ. Who's the one that corrected him? A young child behind him. He said, no, فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ. Is that one? Did I say it correctly? Surah Taha was Surah Taha one, right? What's the difference? فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ. Tashkil. Who corrected him? A young child. And then the Sheikh started smiling in the prayer. And by the way, the smile doesn't break your prayer. Only if you laugh. Except according to Muhammad bin Sirin. If you smile, it breaks your prayer. What's his evidence? فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَاحِكًا. But it's not the strong view. Shahid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves His Quran through the memorization of men. Does that make sense? And that's one of the ways. So Allah Azza wa Jal, right, has chosen the Ummah al-Muhammadiyya to memorize His speech. Now, and when you think about it, my brothers and my sisters, you really think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to treat someone who has memorized His speech, who's carrying the Mus'haf, the Quran, in his heart, the same way as somebody who didn't give importance to that? When you think about it, right? All that trouble that you go through, you think it goes unnoticed by Allah Azza wa Jal? Someone may say, Wallah, we have these technological advancements today. You need a verse, you just put a word in, and then whenever I need it, I use it. When I'm doing da'wah. Again, I'll say it. You think the one who's carrying the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal in its totality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to gift him the same way He gifts another individual who hasn't given that importance to memorizing the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors someone who has memorized the Quran on the most greatest nights of the year. Nights of Ramadan. Sahih. The nights of Al-Qadr, the last 10 nights. You see the Hafid of the Kitab, of the Quran, walking through the rows where there are doctors, engineers. Some of them may even be multi-millionaires. He walks through all of them. Right? And then he is the one that leads them in the prayer. Is there an honor greater than this? Right? On the greatest nights of the year. We call ourselves individuals who call to what? Quran and Sunnah, sah? Quran and Sunnah. But when the month of Ramadan comes, we go into hibernation. Huh? When the month of Quran, the month of Ramadan kicks in, we go into hibernation. Is that acceptable, guys? And then throughout the year, we're banging on about we are the Quran, the Sunnah. We should be the one who are giving most importance to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you have, look what the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man hafidha. Whoever memorizes 10 ayatin min awwali surah al-Kahf. Whoever memorizes the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf, عُصِمَ مِنْ فِتْنَةِ الدَّجَّالِ. This person will be protected from the fitna of Dajjal. That's 10. Right? And how about the one, my brothers and my sisters, memorize the Quran? Someone who has memorized the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, when you think about it, right? It could be that Allah Azza wa Jal has mercy upon him in today's day and age, with all the different fitan that are out there, simply because he's carrying the Quran, even if he hasn't understood it. It may well be that Allah Azza wa Jal has mercy upon him and protects him because he's carrying his speech. Right? Because he's carrying his speech. Right? Not that I'm saying we shouldn't learn the meanings of the Quran. Of course, that's awla. Don't just be like a broken record who just memorizes, but then he doesn't know what he's actually carrying. Right? He memorizes it with his tongue, but then with his actions, he completely destroys it. But like I said, here, Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Messenger is saying, whoever memorizes 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf, he will be protected from the fitna of Dajjal. That's 10. That's that great fitna there. Right? You memorize the Quran today, and you go a step further by pondering and reflecting on it. Right? Learning its meanings. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, I would love to show you guys the messages that I receive on Instagram. How people have been trialed and tribulated in their religions. Wallahi al-azim. Right? Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma narrated, وَكَانَ جِبْرِيلُ يراجع حفظ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم للقرآن كل سنة مرة وقبل وفاته راجع معه الحفظ مرتين. Again, حفظ was mentioned. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam used to revise or used to check the memorization of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once every year. And before he passed away, he did it twice. Right? Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi says, فمن لا يحفظ القرآن ولا يعرف معانيه ولا يعرف الحديث ولا معانيه من أين يكون عارفا بالحقائق المأخوذة عن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever doesn't memorize the Quran and he doesn't learn its meanings, and likewise he doesn't know the hadith, doesn't memorize it, and he doesn't know its meanings, how do you expect this individual to really know what the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam came with? Right? This is just a humble observation, brothers and sisters. Wallahi al-azim. A humble observation. When you memorize the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a lot of the other sciences start becoming a lot more easier. Right? Because when you think about it, when you study Aqeedah, when you study Tawheed, brothers and sisters, majority of what you're studying or you're researching and discussing right, is verses from the Quran. Just open up Aqeedatul Wasitiyah. Right? Open up Usul al-Thalatha, for example. Guys study Usul al-Thalatha, right? Guys taught here. A lot of it is verses. Right? When you don't know it, when you've not memorized it, when you're not familiar with it, the first step now is, okay, I need to at least get myself familiar with it and then understand its meaning. But when you've already got it, khalas, it's been on repeat in your mind. Now it's just a matter of understanding its meaning. Wallahi, trust me, brothers. Life becomes so much more easier when you've memorized the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? And not just the Quran, as we're going to come on to. After the Quran, it doesn't stop there, guys. There's a next step that will lead you to excel. Even you have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, نَضَّرَ اللَّهُ امْرَأً سَمِعَ مَقَالَتِي فَوَعَاهَا فَحَفِظَهَا حَتَّى يُبَلِّغَهُ فَرُبَّ حَامِلِ فِقْهٍ إِلَى مَنْ هُوَ أَفْقَهُ مِنْهُ وَرُبَّ حَامِلَ فِقْهٍ لَيْسَ بِفَقِيهٍ. May Allah Azza wa Jal glow in the face of an individual who hears my speech, the Messenger ﷺ is saying. He comprehends it, memorizes it, and then he conveys it. Memorization, guys. How many times do we see, guys, that corner? He doesn't know the memorization of it. He goes, oh, let me get out for you. And then he takes it out. It's the wrong verse that he's quoting to the guy. It's the wrong verse that he's quoting to the guy. And even the Messenger ﷺ, when a group came to him called Wafdu Abd al-Qais, He instructed them to memorize these instructions that he gave them. And he also told them to stay away from certain things. Right? وجاء فيه أنه علمهم أركان الإسلام ونهاهم عن أشياء. And then after that he said to them, احفظوهن وأخبروا بهن من وراءكم. Memorize it. And then go and inform those who are waiting for you back home. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. If you guys heard of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was trending most recently on Twitter. You know who he is? Who's Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, guys? And why was he trending on Twitter? Huh? That satanic app with the bird. Why was he trending? Does anyone know? What I'm about to mention is so important, brothers and sisters. You know why he was trending? Because you had these feminists who were trying to take him down. Why? Why were they trying to take down Abu Hurairah, not Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar, Uthman and Ali, or any of the other companions? Can anyone tell me? Ahsant. Hafiz al-Suyuti in his Alfiya, 1000-line poem of Mustalah al-Hadith, he says, والمكثرون في رواية الأثر أبو هريرة لابن عمر. The one who narrated the most hadith was who? Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then who was second in line? Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. If you take out of the equation the hadith that Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrated, a big chunk of the religion goes down the drain with it. So some of these feminists were coming out saying, oh, it's Abu Hurairah again. He who narrates all of the hadith pertaining to women. Take him down, you're going to take a big chunk of the Sharia down with it. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Right? He was carrying a big chunk of what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam uttered. This man went through a lot, my brothers and my sisters. What made him the most knowledgeable from amongst the companions? طول الملازمة والعناية بالحفظ. Number one, consistency. And number two, brothers and sisters, al-hifd, memorizing the religion. And these two things, my brothers and my sisters, go hand in hand with one another. Right? It is hard to memorize. It's not easy. However, the merits are many. And that hard work, if it wasn't just for this particular point, guys, the fact that you put so much time into it and that you're having, right, tireless nights and sleepless nights, should I say, of memorizing, you think this is going to go unnoticed by Allah Azza wa Jal, someone who's really going out his way with the intention of preserving the deen by memorizing the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? You think Allah is going to give him, right, less than the one who doesn't give time to the book of Allah Azza wa Jal? Let me share something extremely interesting, my brothers and my sisters, about Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Imam al-Bukhari, in his Sahih, he has a chapter called Bab Hifz al-Ilm, the chapter of memorizing knowledge. Right? Bab Hifz al-Ilm. And he only mentioned, right, the hadith of Abu Hurairah under this subheading. He could have mentioned other hadith that another companion narrated, but he decided to pay tribute to this great companion Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu by only mentioning his hadith. Why? وذلك لأنه كان أحفظ الصحابة للحديث, as Ibn Hajar mentioned. And that is because he was the one that memorized the most ahadith from amongst the companions. Right? He says, لم يذكر في الباب شيئا عن غير أبي هريرة وذلك لأنه كان أحفظ الصحابة الحديث. He didn't mention any other companion that narrated the hadith under this chapter. He wanted to pay tribute to Abu Hurairah, this great man who preserved for us the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that which he memorized. Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi would say, Abu Hurairah أحفظ من روى الحديث في عصره وقد كان ابن عمر يترحم عليه في جنازته ويقول كان يحفظ على المسلمين حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi said the following: Abu Huraira was the one who memorized the most hadith in his time. Abdullah ibn Umar, who was second in line, right? At the janazah, the funeral of Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he would be saying, may Allah have mercy upon him, may Allah have mercy upon him. And he would repeat this, right? Indeed, he used to memorize for the Muslimin the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is exactly that he used to do, my brothers and my sisters? How did he become the creme of the creme, as they say, right? Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Imam al-Bukhari brings this under this chapter heading of حفظ العلم. He says, إن الناس يقولون. Abu Hurairah is saying this about himself. The people have been saying, أكثر أبو هريرة ولولا آيتان في كتاب الله ما حدثت حديثا. Abu Hurairah has become like too much. He's always narrating. He said, if it wasn't for these two verses in the Quran, I would have never uttered a single statement. And then he would recite the statement of Allah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالْهُدَى من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب أولئك يلعنهم الله. Indeed, those who conceal that which Allah Azza wa Jal has sent down and the guidance of Allah Azza wa Jal, these people are cursed. Because if it wasn't for this verse, I would never have narrated a hadith. And then look what he said. إن إخواننا من المهاجرين كان يشغلهم الصفق بالأسواق. Our brothers from the Muhajirin, those who made hijrah, they were busy with their businesses at the markets. وإن إخواننا من الأنصار كان يشغلهم العمل في أموالهم. And as for my brothers from the Ansar, our brothers from the Ansar, they were busy with their wealth and their work. وإن أبا هريرة أسفى أبو هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه كان يلزم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بشبع بطنه. Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم used to tell him to tie his stomach. Did you guys know that? He would sit in the masjid and he would tie his stomach. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, my beloved brothers and sisters, fainted more than once. Did you guys know that? And people would think that he got like jinn possession. Near the minbar, he fainted more than once. He fainted more than once. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, mama. Huh? I'm in the lesson, mama. Lesson الأحجرة. Okay, أبشر. Sorry. Okay. أبشر أمي. Sorry about that, guys. I think Siri just accepted a call. Huh? I didn't even know, subhanAllah, she was calling. I just seen it pop up. What was the last point I was mentioning, guys? And he would say, وَمَا بِي جُنُونَ. وَمَا بِي جُنُونَ. I'm not crazy. You guys think I'm crazy. وَمَا بِي إِلَّا الْجُوعِ. And the reason why this has happened, him fainting, was because of severe hunger. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Severe hunger would lead him to faint. Right? This is Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, what he went through. There's a whole chapter that I have. I don't know whether we're going to have time to actually go through it. Right? Al-faqr. Poverty when it comes to seeking knowledge. Right? لن ينال هذا الأمر, as Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned, حتى يذاق طعم الفقر. You will not be able to acquire knowledge unless you taste poverty. Did you know, my brothers and my sisters, that Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu later on became the governor of Al-Medina, and he was like rich. He had basatin. He had gardens. He had gardens. His mother would enter upon it, and then he would say, "Oh mother, jazakillahu khayran, kama rabbaytani saghira." May Allah reward you with good, as indeed you nurtured me very well. Right? You nurtured me very, very well. And then she would say, "May Allah reward you, my son, as you were extremely obedient when you became older. كَمَا بَرَرْتَنِي كَبِيرًا." And she would be walking into his bustan and, he had money. When you go through that difficulty, again, don't think that it goes unnoticed. It's very easy to throw in the towel, to give up. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah says, indeed, He has promised those who come with Iman and do righteous deeds. And what's the best of righteous deeds, guys? Seek knowledge. Right? And that hard work of memorizing, and right? Again, it doesn't go unnoticed by Allah Azza wa Jal. Brothers, at times, they get a little bit upset that so-and-so is given a position and he's not. Even though they were what? Aqran, they were classmates. They get upset. How is it that he is given this position, I'm not? Why is it not rocket science to actually understand why that's happening? Right? Maybe there was something between him and Allah Azza wa Jal that nobody knew about, that he used to do in his room. All that time and effort that he used to put in. While you were maybe sitting on the shari'. We have a shari', a road in Al-Medina called Shari' Sultana. One sheikh called it Shari' Shaytana. This is where you have the ice cream parlors. You got McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, and you got the ice cream parlors. And some students, they go and sit there and enjoy themselves. No problem. Go enjoy yourself at the halal McDonald's. But don't get upset later. Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? I know some of you guys want to go to Al-Medina. Some of you guys have been accepted. It's very interesting when you get there. Very, very interesting. Now that you've managed to get there, you're just thinking to yourself, the shaitan's whispering, all you now need to do is get that shahada and you'll go back. Everyone will give you a high status. يا مسكين. الرفعة لا تكون بمجرد العلم بل باتباع الحق والعمل به, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned. Allah will not raise an individual for just having knowledge, he's saying. And you're thinking about just let me get my shahada, let me get my certificate. He says, but rather following the truth and also acting upon it. You're talking about just getting a shahada and then this and this and this is going to work out for me. So this was Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, for you brothers and sisters, who really, really struggled, went through a lot. But it was only for a set period of time till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with so much. What did we mention? What made him so great? We mentioned two things, right? What are the two things? Consistency, memorization. Did some of you guys come for a heart softening lecture? Did you guys think that this was not going to be a class? Honestly, guys. Okay, it was a reminder, right? I think it was a nice reminder of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, أنه قال لأبي هريرة. He one time said to Abi Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, يا أبا هريرة أنت كنت ألزمنا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأحفظنا لحديثه. Another companion is now testifying to Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Right? And for your contemporaries, even though, but for those in your time to testify to your hard work is honestly something that is very, very great. Right? He said, you were the one that was most consistent when it came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the one who memorized the most when it came to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He bore witness to this. He was most consistent. And it's not surprising why you find Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala at the top of the list. So what was it? Consistency. ألزمنا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the second was what? Al-hifd. While people were busy, not that there's anything wrong with you doing tijara, being involved in business as the muhajirun and also the ansar were. There's nothing wrong with that. But he made a sacrifice, right? Which was painful at times. He used to live in a masjid. Guys, wallahi, I seen brothers in Damaj, Yemen, live in the masjid for years. Anyone here been to Damaj? Yemen? Paid a visit? You went? Yemen. Not Yemen, but Damaj, the village. Huh? You live in mud houses, and some weren't fortunate enough to even have the basics to live in a small apartment or even in a mud house. They would wallahi stay in the masjid years. They would be in the masjid, and then whenever the food would be brought for free, they would have that rice which had some potatoes. Sometimes it would be raw. Right? Wallahi, there's a lot that needs to be mentioned. However, I only have until 8:15, right? Sahih, Sam. Abdul Razzaq al-San'ani rahimahullah ta'ala, he says كل علم لا يدخل مع صاحبه الحمام فلا تعده علما. Every knowledge that doesn't enter with you into the toilet, don't count it as knowledge. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you take your books, your usul al-thalath, into the bathroom? Would anybody do that? You'd leave it outside, sah? But if you've memorized knowledge, like Quran and that, would you take it out of your brain and put it outside and go into the bathroom? Would you then? He's saying كل علم لا يدخل مع صاحبه الحمام فلا تعده علما. Don't count it as knowledge. Does that make sense? Don't count it as knowledge. I heard my Shaykh Salih ibn Abdullah ibn Hamad al-Usaymi say the following, and he heard it from Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahmatullahi alayhi directly. He said, حفظنا خليلا وقرأنا كثيرا فانتفعنا بما حفظنا أكثر من انتفاعنا بما قرأنا. He said, we memorized a little, but we read a lot. However, we benefited more from that which we memorized, from that which we used to read. Right? Let me ask you guys a question, right? There are things that were repetitive when we were growing up as youngsters, that we would hear on a regular basis from our parents. It was repetitive, right? I still remember it like it was yesterday. Like one thing my dad would always say to me, and I memorized it simply because of what? Repetition. You memorize certain things because what? You run into it constantly. He'd always say to me, because he saw that I was a little bit fudfudut, which means, what does it mean? How do you be hasty? I was not the strongest of guys, but I would be the brave heart that really goes out and defends his brothers. I'd get dropped and stand back up again, and then again, right? And he saw that. He would say to me, Muhammad, if you see someone with his eye hanging out, don't rush to defending him. You don't know what he's just done. And he has stab wounds everywhere. Right? He has stab wounds everywhere. He might not necessarily be the victim. He could have just killed someone, but in the process of doing so, he was what? Sliced up. You guys with me? But you're going to now go and defend him? And he would repeat this all the time. That really stuck with me, guys. The point that I'm trying to make here, my brothers and my sisters, when you memorize something, it tends to stick with you a lot longer than when you just read it once and then you move on. Take as an example what we studied in secondary school. or we study university. How many subjects did we take, guys? Right? For those who have now moved out of that setting, how much of that knowledge do you actually remember? Huh? How much of that knowledge do you actually remember? Because you would just read it. It was just like I need to get it over and done with. But there were certain things that you enjoyed and you done it repetitively, which you are now maybe benefiting from. Right? I still remember the Pythagoras theorem. Huh? And the periodic table. Because I used to I just decided to start memorizing it. I liked it. And that's because what? You went over it multiple times. Right? Have you guys heard of Abu Hamid al-Ghazali? From the scholars of the past. You know who he really benefited from? A thief. Someone tried to rob him. That thief was the reason why he benefited immensely. Huh? You know what happened, brothers and sisters? He was traveling and he was carrying his luggage. And in his luggage, he had his books. So these highway bandits, they decided to rob him. Right? They decided to rob him. And he started running behind them saying, please, please give it back to me. Indeed, right? That which is in these bags and these suitcases is not going to benefit you. He asked him, then he stopped. Well, what's inside of these bags? He said, علوم درستها وهي محفوظة في هذه الخريطة. All of the knowledge that I studied all of these years is inside of these bags. Give it back to me. Right? So the head leader of these thieves began to laugh at him. فضحك كبير اللصوص. وقال له, and he said to him, كيف تزعم أنك عرفت؟ كيف تزعم أنك عرفت علمها وعندما أخذناها منك أصبحت لا تعلم شيئا وبقيت بلا علم. How is it that you can claim that you have knowledge? The moment we took these books away from you, you were left without nothing. Right? أصبحت لا تعلم شيئا وبقيت بلا علم. You were left without knowledge. Right? Look at the humility of Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, right? How it's so important that you take knowledge as long as it's correct. Someone may advise you. Sometimes we look at that individual's shortcomings. صح? He's advising me not to smoke and then he's smoking himself. Why should I listen to him? Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi says, من شروط الانتفاع بموعظ الواعظ العمى عن عيب الناصح أو الواعظ. From the conditions of taking away maximum benefit from the one who's advising you is to overlook some of his shortcomings. Otherwise, you'll never be able to benefit from anyone. If you always just focus on, okay, he's got these issues, you know what? I'm just going to disregard and dismiss everything that he's saying. Wallahi, you won't benefit from anyone. Because there's not a single person except that he has what? Shortcomings, no matter how big that sheikh is. Does that make sense, guys? Right? So he benefited from him. He took this advice. يقول الغزالي هذا مستنطق أنطقه الله عز وجل ليرشدني به في أمري. Allah Azza wa Jal made this thief, this highway bandit, speak the truth, which was the reason why I was guided to that which is correct. فلما وافيت طوس أقبلت على اشتغالي 3 سنين حتى حفظت جميع ما علقته وسرت بحيث لو قطع علي الطريق لم أتجرد من علمي. He said, when I reached my destination, I began to memorize everything that I noted down, right, from the previous 3 years. So just in case this would happen to me again, I wouldn't be left without knowledge. Even in Ibn Hazm rahmatullahi alayhi, he has some lines of poetry where he talks about this, right? When they threatened to burn his books. فإن تحرق القرطاس لا تحرق الذي, right? تضمنه القرطاس بل هو في صدري. If you were to burn everything in these boxes and in these bags, you won't be able to burn that which is inside of my heart, because the ilm is inside of my heart. Right? And then he told them, stop being childish. Either speak with knowledge, huh? وَإِلَّا فَعُودُوا لِلْكَتَاتِبِ بَدْأَةً. Huh? Told them to go back to nursery if you guys are going to behave like this. إِذَا قُولُوا بِعِلْمٍ كَيَّرَ النَّاسُ مَنْ يَدْرِي. Either speak with knowledge so the people see who actually knows or not. He was someone whose arguments were very strong. He was anti-madhabs and whatever have you, and he started, you know. على كل حال, شاهد من الكلام, his knowledge was in his heart. I always say to brothers, إذا لم تكن حافظا واعيا فجمعك للكتب لا ينفع. أتحضر بالجهل في مجلس وعلم في البيت مستودع. If not someone who has حفظ and also what wa'i, right? Someone who has understanding. You just gathering information is not going to benefit you. I know, brothers and sisters, it's very, very exciting to go through this book and that book and this. Give it a couple of months, you're going to end up forgetting everything if you don't take the correct methodology. Right? Am I saying that you should memorize every word in that book that you're studying? No. You summarize it and then you memorize what you summarized. So at least it sticks with you. Otherwise, you're just going to like, next one, and eventually you'll be left with nothing. Right? فَجَمْعُكَ لِلْكُتُبِ لَا يَنْفَعُ, he says. You just gathering books is not going to benefit you. أَتَحْضُرُ بِالْجَهْلِ فِي مَجْلِسٍ. You come to a sitting with ignorance and your ilm is stuck in the warehouse. Right? Or in the closet. Someone's about to apostate, my brothers and my sisters. The guy doesn't have knowledge. He's saying to you, please give me the evidence. And you can say, oh, well, I need to go back home and I need to get you the verse. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلي وسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين بعثه الله شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه والسراج المنيرا. Is it on properly, yeah? Is it on properly? It sounds a little bit different. Huh? طيب. 10 golden principles, my brothers and my sisters, when it comes to memorization. القاعدة الأولى. The first principle. الإخلاص لله سبحانه وتعالى والالتجاء إليه بالدعاء. Being sincere in that which we do and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a dua. We have to understand, my brothers and my sisters, that this sacred knowledge is not like studying mechanics or mathematics, right? It may be the same in the sense where you sit in gatherings, you take the knowledge directly from a teacher. However, it is something that is so sacred that will only enter into the hearts that are clean. As Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi says, فإن القلب إذا كان رقيقا لينا كان قبوله للعلم سهلا يسيرا ورسخ العلم فيه وثبت. If the heart, my brothers and my sisters, is soft and tender, you will see that the ilm will enter into his heart very easily. It will settle in there. It will influence it. It will affect it. And look what he says. وإذا كان القلب غليظا قاسيا كان قبوله للعلم صعبا عسيرا. However, if the heart has become so hard and rigid, the ilm will find it extremely difficult to enter into that kind of heart. So the heart requires purification. It needs to be cleansed, right? This heart needs to be pure enough for this knowledge to enter. And as we mentioned here, brothers, the first principle is what? Al-ikhlasu lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. To be sincere. Why am I memorizing this knowledge? Am I memorizing because I want to be known as the hafid? Or I want to be considered as the one who is memorized the most in my locality, in my area? Right? Why am I memorizing? You always have to ask yourself this question. It may well be that you hit the ground running and you're accomplishing so much in a short space of time, but then the shaitan gets the better of you. Right? The intentions begin to change. All of a sudden now he wants to impress people with the memorization that he has. Right? People always tend to ask, how do I know if I'm being sincere? Is there like a sign that will help me distinguish between that which is sincere and maybe that which isn't? This is something very hard to tell, brothers and sisters. However, the following may well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, put you in the right direction. And this is a general principle when it comes to any good deed that we try to do. Right? As long as you are striving against your nafs, inshaAllah ta'ala, you are on the right direction, on the right path towards the right direction. Right? You're constantly asking yourself, before you do the act, am I doing it for Allah? Or am I doing it to impress people? Or am I doing it for the money? What am I doing it for? While I'm doing the act, again, I'm constantly checking my intention. Is it really for the sake of Allah? Right? And then once I'm done, did I do it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, or did I do it for clout? Right? Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sounds a lot better than before now. Is it working now upstairs? Is it working? Does that make sense, my brothers and my sisters? Before we do the act, am I doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla? While I'm doing it, has my intentions changed? Right? I'll tell you guys a narration, subhanAllah, that is so touching. Of Sulaiman ibn Dawood al-Hashimi, Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi said, يَصْلُحَ أَنْ يَكُونَ خَلِيفَةً لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. This individual is fit enough to become the caliphate of the Muslims because of how smart and intelligent and intellectual this individual was. Are you brothers and sisters with me? Allah Azza wa Jalla blessed him with knowledge that really had an effect on his conduct and behavior. Are you brothers and sisters with me? You know what he said? رُبَّمَا أُحَدِّثُ بِحَدِيثٍ وَلِي. I may narrate a hadith and then I have a particular intention. ثُمَّ آتِي إِلَى بَعْضِ هَذَا الْحَدِيثِ. And then I come to another part of the hadith. Let's just take a hadith for an example, right? The hadith of Jibreel is like maybe 12, 13 lines. You guys heard of the hadith, right? It's pretty long. Right? At the beginning, he has a sincere intention of doing this for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because back in the day, they used to narrate a hadith. You take it from your teacher and then you narrate it to the students. And then this is how, right, the chain of narration, the chain of what the Messenger ﷺ mentioned, continues. So people will travel to different individuals to take that hadith from them directly. Does that make sense? So it could be that he's sitting in a sitting and he's narrating this hadith. There's only maybe 4 or 5 people there. And then subhanAllah, halfway through, like a flurry of people walk in, 30, 40 people walk in. Shaitan may start whispering, it's time to impress them with your memorization. Wallahi, brothers, sometimes the shaitan comes to me, especially when there's quality cameras in front of me, right? And he said, you should rephrase that. So it turns out to be a nice reel. Wallahi al-azim. It's a struggle, right? He's talking about just narrating one hadith, let alone doing a whole lecture. And look what he says at the end. وَرُبَّ حَدِيثٍ وَاحِدٍ يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى نِيَّةٍ. And it may well be that one hadith requires multiple intentions for one to constantly ask himself, am I really doing it for the sake of Allah Jalla fi'ala? Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, إِنَّمَا يَحْفَظُ الْمَرْءَ عَلَى قَدْرِ نِيَّتِهِ. One, he only memorizes in accordance to his intention. Our Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi commented on this and said, فَإِذَا قَوِيَ إِخْلَاصُهُ قَوِيَ حِفْظُهُ. If this individual's ikhlas gains strength, the more sincerity he has, the more he will be able to memorize. قَوِيَ حِفْظُهُ. Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi, our teacher, also mentioned لن تنالوا العلم بقوة حفظكم ولا بجودة فهمكم. You are not going to acquire and attain knowledge with having a strong memory, right? And also having a great understanding. You know, some people are able to understand and pick up a lot better than others. ولا بكثرة ملازمتكم للدروس. And likewise, you're not going to acquire knowledge thinking, as long as I attend all of these classes, then I'll be able to acquire all of that knowledge. He says, إنما تصيبون العلم بصدقكم مع الله عز وجل. You are only going to acquire knowledge by you having a sidq, being truthful to Allah Jalla fi ula. There's a difference between ikhlas and sidq. Who can tell me? What's the difference between when the scholars talk about being sincere and when the scholars talk about being truthful? من يجيبني?
Is truthful with the people and then classes with Allah.
جزاك الله خير for your input. Anyone else?
Classes with Allah, sidq is with yourself. So did I do enough? Did I give it its due right and so on?
He said ikhlas is with Allah and then sidq is with yourself. Did I really give it its due right? Huh? Huh? He said you need ikhlas for sidq. Anyone else? Ikhlas, my brothers and my sisters, go on. Yeah, you put your hand up.
Ikhlas is obviously for Allah, and a sidq is you're intending the action and nothing else to perform the action, literally coming everything that needs to be coming for that action.
Al-Ikhlas is very well known. To be sincere to Allah Azza wa Jal. Am I doing it for the sake of Allah? As-Sidq, my brothers and my sisters, is someone who is truthful to Allah Azza wa Jal in that which he does. What does this mean? There are people, my brothers and my sisters, who do more behind closed doors than what they do in the open. Right? You see that his days are connected with the nights in seeking knowledge. Right? He's truthful with Allah Azza wa Jal. Whenever he finds time, because people get busy, he uses the opportunity to seek knowledge. This is truthfulness. When he could be doing 101 things, while another, the moment he gets an opportunity, he's on BBC Sports, or he's watching a football game, or he's going out, and so on and so forth. Right? This individual's mind is occupied. How can I get closer to Allah? How can I seek more knowledge? Right? His whole life, brothers, becomes revolved around this concept of, what can I do now to seek more knowledge that will get me closer to Allah Azza wa Jal? Guys, get the difference? This person is truthful. Because people say, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. The moment they get a bit of time, what are they doing with that time? Are you really truthful here? Are you really being truthful? You talk about being busy, I don't have time. But the moment you do get time, watching the West Ham Tottenham game. They're playing today, right? So they locked up all of the roads. They gave us trouble. While there are brothers and sisters, I'm going to go and benefit. Even though I'm a die-hard West Ham fan, because I live in East London. Or Tottenham. They're both rubbish anyway. I had trials for West Ham once upon a time, by the way, guys. I used to be an ex-baller. I'm retired now. Shahid min al-kalam. You get the opportunity now, you have some time. What are you going to do with that time? And then you talk about, I'm really busy, I don't have time. And So we mentioned under number 1 is what? Al-Ikhlasu lillah, to be sincere to Allah Azza wa Jal, and to also turn to Allah Azza wa Jal with what? With the dua. When you think about it, they go hand in hand with one another. Right? A lot of the time when someone is really sincere and really truthful, and that which he's trying to pursue, who is he going to go to? Allah Azza wa Jal. Ya Allah. He's the one that grants that, right? Right? This beneficial knowledge is from Allah Jalla fi'ula. Ya Allah, give it to me. You will see that individual engaging in a lot of dua. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahmatullahi alayhi, my brothers and my sisters, he says, من اجتهد واستعان بالله تعالى ولازم الاستغفار والاجتهاد فلا بد أن يؤتيه الله عز وجل من فضله ما لم يخطر ببال. Whoever works hard and he seeks assistance from Allah, making dua, Ya Allah help me. ولازم الاستغفار, and he's someone who always astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Seeking forgiveness helps in so many different ways, guys. Right? Before giving a fatwa, what's the evidence from the Quran? That before you give an Islamic verdict, you should say astaghfirullah. Can anyone quickly tell me? I'll give you guys a clue, Surah An-Nisa. He quoted a verse that was وَاسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Do istighfar, indeed Allah is oft forgiving. Where is this where? Go back a little bit. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ لِتَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِمَا وَأَرِيكَ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَكُنْ لِلْخَائِنِينَ خَصِيمًا وَاسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهِ. Doing hukum, judgment, passing verdicts, all of this falls under that. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Does that make sense, guys? He says here, وَلَازِمْ الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ is someone that does a lot of istighfar, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. وَالِاجْتِهَادِ, and he works hard, فَلَا بُدَّ أَن يُؤْتِيَهُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ مَا لَمْ يَخْطُرْ بِبَالٍ. Allah must give this individual, right, that which the mind can't imagine. And that is seeking aid and assistance from Allah Jalla fi'ula. This is the shahid here. Also, Ibn al-Qayyim, he says about his teacher, وَالشَّهِدْتُ شَيْخَ الْإِسْلَامِ قَدَّسَ اللَّهُ رُوحَهُ إِذَا أَعْيَتْهُ الْمَسَائِلِ. I witnessed that whenever Ibn Taymiyyah found difficulty trying to understand certain masail, وَاسْتَصْعَبَتْ عَلَيْهِ, right, فَرَّ مِنْهَا إِلَى تَوْبَةِ الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ. He would run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, by seeking forgiveness. This is Ibn Taymiyyah. He finds it difficulty to understand. He finds difficulty in understanding an issue. He will run to Allah, Ya Allah, forgive me. Maybe I'm not even able to understand it because Allah Azza wa Jal is not pleased with me. Right? And then he says, وَالِاسْتِغَاثَةِ بِاللَّهِ وَاللَّجَأِ إِلَيْهِ. Ya Allah, help me. Turning to Allah Azza wa Jal. When he found it difficulty to understand. Or it could be that you're finding it difficult to memorize. Right? When is the best time to really ask Allah Azza wa Jal? Wallahi, brothers, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal in the last third of the night. It doesn't matter what background you have, you could be the biggest drug dealer. Wallahi al-Azim. I don't say this out of exaggeration. You could be the biggest drug dealer. You could be an individual that's causing mayhem, havoc. Huh? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will end up opening that door for you. Right? You may take 1,000 steps away from Allah. How many steps do you need to take back to Allah? It's just one step. The one dua that you make, وَسَلْ مِنْ رَبِّكَ التَّوْفِيقَ فِيهَا وَأَخْلَصْ فِي السُّؤَالِ إِذَا سَأَلْتَ وَنَادِي إِذَا سَجَدْتُ لِاعْتِرَافًا بِمَا نَادَاهُ ذُو النُّونِ بْنُ مَتَى وَلَازِمْ بَابَهُ قَرْعًا عَسَاهُ سَيَفْتَحُ بَابَهُ لَكَ إِنْ قَرَعْتَ. Right? As Abu Ishaq al-Biri mentioned, ask Allah for tawfiq, for success. And be sincere when doing so. And when you are in prostration, call out to Allah. Confessing your sins, Ya Allah, I did this and I did that. You are in a state of humility. Right? Just as Yunus ibn Matta, Yunus alayhi salam called unto Allah, La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Ya Allah, I've oppressed and wronged myself. Subhanak. Right? And he says, وَلَازِمْ بَابَهُ قَرْعًا عَسَاهُ. Keep knocking on that door. Perhaps if you keep knocking on the door, it will eventually be opened. Does that make sense? Keep knocking on that door, brothers and sisters. Right? And it's only a matter of time before it's opened. No matter what you ask Allah Azza wa Jal. Some of us, we have very low aspirations. We look at the British, and this used to happen in Medina, guys. Stop setting the British as a yardstick with regards to what you need to do. Have higher standards. They will look around, okay, that Brit, right? He has memorized 15 juz of the Quran. As long as I do that, khalas, yani, I'll become top. First and foremost, the intention is flawed. And secondly, why are you using the Brits as an example? Go hang around with the Arabs or the Africans. One of the most knowledgeable people that I came across, or a group of people that I came across, was the Senegalese and the Gambians. Anyone here from Senegal? MashaAllah. So you memorized everything, huh? Huh? He said yes. May Allah bless you. Also that I wanted to mention under this, my brothers and my sisters, is Ma'u Zamzam and its relation to Hifd. Huh? Ma'u Zamzam and its relation to Hifd. Ibn Hajar, he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وأنا شربت مرة وأنا في بداية طلب الحديث. One time I drank Zamzam. Zamzam is going to go missing in London after this, right? He said, one time I drank Zamzam when I was at the beginning stages of learning hadith. وسألت الله, and I asked Allah أن يرزقني حالة الذهب في حفظ الحديث, to make me like الإمام الذهبي رحمة الله عليه when it comes to hadith. ثم حججت بعد 20 سنة وأنا أجد من نفسي طلب المزيد على تلك الرتبة. Right? And then after that, I went to Hajj after 20 years, he says. And I began to feel, I need something else now. Right? Even look at the humility. He could have said, oh, I've already surpassed him, I need something else. But he said, no, like I felt within myself that, I should maybe ask for more. Anyone who reads this will, فسألته مرتبة أعلى منها فأرجو من الله أن أنال ذلك. I asked Allah for a position or a status greater than his, and I hope, he says, that I reach it. As-Suyuti rahmatullahi alayhi, he comments on this. He says, it has been attributed to Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Hajar that he one time drank Zamzam so he could reach the level of al-Dhahabi fil hifd. So Suyuti actually confirms فَبَلَغَهَا. He reached that, وَزَادَ عَلَيْهِ, and he surpassed him. So then Suyuti benefited from this, and he said, right, that he drank Zamzam so he could reach the level of al-Bulqini or al-Bulqini. It's actually more correct to say al-Bulqini. To reach the level of Bulqini when it comes to al-Fiqh. And then the level of Ibn Hajar when it comes to Hadith. And they say that he actually surpassed that. Allahu A'lam. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Ja'far, he said, سمعت ابن خزيمة. I heard Ibn Khuzaymah being asked, how did you acquire all of this knowledge? He said, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ماء زمزم لما شرب له. Right? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, when you drink Zamzam, right, you get what you intended it for. You make the intention and then you drink Zamzam. Right? وإني لما شربت ماء زمزم سألت الله علما نافعا, he says. And when I drank Zamzam, I asked Allah Azza wa Jal for beneficial knowledge. A brother one time sent this to me, may Allah Azza wa Jal bless him. Ibn al-Arabi, the great Mufassir al-Mashhur, he said, وَلَقَدْ كُنْتُ بِمَكَّةَ مُقِيمًا فِي ذِي الْحِجَّةِ سنة 89 و400. I was living in Mecca, right? I was residing there, في ذي الحجة, in the month of Dhul Hijjah, right? In the year 498, sorry. وكنت, or is it 89? 89. نعم, 489. وكنت أشرب ماء زمزم كثيرا. He said, I used to drink a lot of Zamzam. For those who are planning on going to Umrah, take that as an opportunity, because you can't import Zamzam anymore on the tourist visa. And most people, they go on tourist visas. And I'll tell you guys what my friend actually wrote under this statement. He says, وَكُنْتُ أَشْرَبُ مَاءَ زَمْزَمَ كَثِيرًا. I used to drink a lot of Zamzam. وَكُلَّمَا شَرِبْتُ نَوَيْتُ بِالْعِلْمِ وَالْإِيمَانِ. And every time I drank it, I would make the intention of ilm and also iman, faith. حتى فتح الله لي بركته في المقدار الذي يسره لي. Up until Allah Azza wa Jal opened the doors for me. وَنَسِيتُ أَنْ أَشْرَبْهُ لِلْعَمَلِ. However, I forgot to drink Zamzam, hoping that Allah Azza wa Jal will grant me the ability to act upon my knowledge. وَيَا لَيْتَنِي شَرِبْتُهُ لَهُمَا. And I wish I drank it for both of these intentions. حَتَّى يَفْتَحَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ فِيهِمَا. So that Allah Azza wa Jal can give me the success to be able to act upon my knowledge. نعم. He says, فَكَانَ صَغْوِي إِلَى الْعِلْمِ أَكْثَرَ مِنْهُ إِلَى الْعَمَلِ وَنَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ الْحِفْظَ وَالتَّوْفِيقَ بِرَحْمَتِهِ. And he said, I was more inclined to just, taking in a lot of knowledge than actually acting upon it. So my friend, he commented on this, my brothers and my sisters. And he said, oh, you has been given the success to live in Al-Medina. Be someone who takes advantage of Ma'u Zamzam. Right? You can drink Zamzam for 101 reasons, brothers and sisters. Right? Look at how it impacted these great scholars. Right? I personally, my brothers and my sisters, would witness a Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr. You guys heard of him? Sheikh Abdul Razak. Allah, an amazing individual. You sit in his gatherings, it could be he's teaching you Tawheed, but you walk away with your heart softened up. He says, I saw Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr drinking Zamzam. I would observe the way he carries himself, what he would do before the class. He would always go to the Zamzam tub and drink some Zamzam before class. And I honestly believe he was doing that intentionally. So one time when I was sitting with the Shaykh Abdul Salam al-Shuway'ir, I mentioned this to him. He said to me straight away, وَلَعَلَّهُ يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ مُسْتَعِينًا بِاللَّهِ عَلَى الدَّرْسِ الَّذِي سُيُقِيهِ. Perhaps he's doing this because he's trying to seek the assistance of Allah Azza wa Jal, right, in delivering this class. Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi said, كنت آخذ قدحا من ماء زمزم. I would take a glass of Zamzam and I would read Surah Al-Fatiha on it and then I would drink it. فأجد به من النفع والقوة. I would walk away with this benefit and strength. ما لم أعهد. Right? ما لم أعهد مثله في الدواء. Right? Something I couldn't find in medicine, subhanAllah. Right? Are you guys tired? That was his principle number one. One thing I forgot to mention pertaining to the intention, my brothers and my sisters, when we seek knowledge, what are some of the intentions that one should have pertaining to seeking knowledge? And perhaps this will make your memorization of the Quran a lot more easier when the intention is right. The poet, he says, فَلْتَقْصِدُ أَرْبَعَةً قَبْلَ ابْتِدَاءٍ تَعَلُّمٍ لِكَيْ تَفُوزَ بِالْهُدَى. He says, make sure you have these 4 intentions when you start the action so that you walk away with success. أولها الخروج من ضلالي والثاني نفع الخلق للجلال. The first point is, or your first intention should be, I'm taking this knowledge because I want to remove myself from ignorance. Number 2, in order to benefit the creation. I'm memorizing the Quran because I want to benefit myself and then I want to benefit the creation. والثالث الإحياء للعلوم والرابع العمل بالمعلوم. Number 3, to give life to knowledge. Number 4, so that this knowledge can be acted upon. Shaykh Salih Husaymi, he mentioned 12 intentions that you should have. And then he talked about some of the intentions that will actually corrupt this pursuit of knowledge. I'll quickly go through the ones that will corrupt it. Number one, wanting to be known on the earth. محبة الظهور في الأرض. Number two, محبة الذكر بين الناس. To be mentioned by the people. Number two. Number three, محبة الثناء عليه. Loving to be praised by the people. What's the difference between number three and number two? Number two is to be quoted. Oh, so-and-so said this. So-and-so said that. He wants that to happen. Number three is loving to be praised. Oh, so-and-so is this and so-and-so is that.
What was the first one?
The first one was محبة الظهور في الأرض. To become known on the earth. Number four, أن يكون له أتباع. He seeks knowledge so that he could have a following. Number five, أن يكون قوله مسموعا. So that he has a voice that is heard. Right? To have a voice, subhanAllah. You know when someone mentions these points like this, my brothers and my sisters, it really, really shows that this individual put in a lot of time and effort to understand the reality of knowledge. And to make sure that the intention is so pure, so that he can acquire that knowledge. May Allah make us like that. Number two, guys. القاعدة الثانية. القاعدة الثانية. لزوم الطاعات واجتناب الخطيئات والتقوى لرب البريات سبحانه وتعالى. Your relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla needs to be on point, brothers and sisters. The sins that you fall into will have a detrimental effect on the knowledge that you are looking to acquire. Sometimes we ask ourselves the question, I had this zeal and this desire to memorize, but I feel like there are these invisible chains that are tying me down. Wallahi al-Azim, brothers and sisters, I've seen it happen over time. Right? The sins destroying an individual's pursuit, right? When he goes abroad to go and study. And the sins come in different types and forms. A lot of the time when we speak about sins, what's the first thing that comes to somebody's mind? Who can tell me? Now be honest, guys, like looking at haram, right? Zina and so on and so forth. It's an addiction that many people have. It's a struggle that many are suffering from. However, it may well be that someone has become protected from this kind of sin, and then the shaitan comes where? From a different door. What is the door that he enters from? I'll tell you guys. There was a brother in Yemen, guys. He would walk into the masjid. He would pick up the Quran. Wallahi al-Azim. He would pick up the Quran he wants to memorize. He was there when I arrived maybe 2 years already. He didn't know the Arabic language and he did not memorize barely anything from the Quran. He would walk into the masjid, he would open the Mus'haf, he would sit there for a little bit, he'll close it and then he'll walk out. He'll come back, same thing. At the time it didn't make sense to me. I was like, why can't he sit down? This brother, when he was there, he was known to be the one who spreads the most gossip, rips into people of knowledge, always speaks about them. The Shaykh said this, the Shaykh said that, the Shaykh said this, the Shaykh said that. So overly concerned in these topics, Wallahi al-Azim. And he did not get anywhere. Ibn al-Jawzi rahmatullahi alayhi says something very, very powerful, brothers and sisters. Who died in the year 597. He's not living amongst us. But this statement is so impactful. And I wish students of knowledge who start this journey could stick this on their walls. Too many guys in Yemen, in Al-Medina, I've seen drop out, leave seeking knowledge. And you know what their fitna was? Speaking about others. Right? Speaking about others, this guy's like this, this guy's like that. Akhi, you just started seeking knowledge right now. But then he gets convinced, oh, wallah, we have to protect the deen. Ibn al-Jawzi says, وَمِن تَلْبِيسِ إِبْلِيسِ. By the way, he passed away 597, I believe. Say, 597. Quickly do a Google search. Ibn al-Jawzi, when did he pass away? I think it's 597. It says, وَمِن تَلْبِيسِ إِبْلِيسَ عَلَى أَهْلِ الْحَدِيثِ قَدْحُ بَعْضِهِمْ فِي بَعْضٍ. The people of hadith, he says, the way the shaitan deceived them, and this is from the deceptions of Iblis, insulting and speaking about one another. طلبا للتشفي, and they do this under the banner of ويخرجون ذلك مخرج الجرح والتعديل. You guys heard of Jarh wa Ta'deel? MashaAllah. You guys heard of it? Or Jarh wa Tajrih? Huh? Jarh wa Ta'deel is a science that is studied in Ilm al-Hadith. However, today people apply it on individuals. Look what he's saying. Speaking about others, they do it under the guise of Jarh wa Ta'deel. Wallahi guys, I've been hearing it for the last 10 years. Jarh wa Ta'deel, Jarh. We need to, Wallahi, a lot of these guys, they're nowhere to be seen. Wasted their time when Allah Azza wa chose them to go abroad. Are you guys with me? Close your mouth, brothers and sisters. Especially at the early stages of seeking knowledge. Wahbara. Learn. Right? You will go to certain masajid that you will run into. And brothers, who are dressed the same as you. They got beards. Huh? But within a couple of moments, they're trying to convert you to having a particular mindset with regards to the deen. We need to write all of these brothers off. Right? Yes. Huh? Knowledge is important, but we need to be careful where we take our knowledge from, which is again true. كلمة الحق أريد بها الباطل. And then they will start cancelling individuals, one after the other, and you will see yourself, right, smothering your tongue at these individuals who in essence are free from what these people are saying. And you've only shot yourself in the foot. You're the victim here. Too many guys, wallahi too many. Have I seen brothers falling off talab al-ilm because of this? Are you guys with me? Ibn al-Qayyim, in his kitab Ad-Da' wa Dawa, the spiritual sickness and its cure, he talks about some of the consequences of sins. You know what the first consequence of sin was? Hirman al-ilm, to be deprived of knowledge. And then he gives the example of Imam Malik and also Imam Shafi'i. 2 out of the 4 great Imams of fiqh, who knew one another. Imam Shafi'i one time sat in front of Imam Malik as a student. You know Imam Malik said to him, إني أرى أن الله قد ألقى في قلبك نورا فلا تطفئها بظلمة المعصية. I can see that Allah Azza wa Jalla has placed a nur in your heart. Do not extinguish this light with the darkness of sinning. Do not extinguish this light with the darkness of sinning. You know, brothers and sisters, Imam Shafi'i, he had photographic memory. Did you guys know that? Photographic memory. If he had a book and he wanted to take the information of that which is on this side, he would have to cover the other. Because of how powerful his memorization was, he would start what? Getting mixed up. However, his memorization got affected. You know why? Does anyone know why? He said sins. Which sin was it? Or was it, what is it exactly? I want something that's a bit more specific. No. He looked at the bangles. You know what the bangles are? I want to go check, check. Huh? The woman's walking. Huh? On the ankles. He looked at bangles like a bracelet that was on a woman's ankle. It affected his memory. And this is when he uttered those lines of poetry to Waki'. I said to myself, why did he go to Waki'? He had so many other teas. Why Waki'? And then later on I found it in Sirah A'lam Nubala. He says, شكوت إلى وكيع سوء حفظي فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي فأخبرني بأن العلم نور ونور الله لا يهدى العاصي. He said, I complained to Waki' about my bad memory loss. And he directed me to leaving off sins. He told me that ilm is a nur. And this nur is not gifted to a sinner. Brothers, he did not look at a half-naked woman, right, on the streets of London in summer's time. That wasn't the case, guys. He looked at the ankles of a woman and that affected his memory. Well, I remember when I was in Yemen, before I left, a brother came up to me when he heard that I was leaving. Wallahi, he made a desperate attempt to get me not to leave. He said, Muhammad, why do you want to leave? Stay here. He goes, if you go back, you'll end up forgetting half of the Quran. I said, what do you mean by that? I was a lot younger then. I said, what do you mean by that? Because of course I've been away from the modern world. We've been living in a village. Huh? Between mountains, in a mud house. I don't know what's going on because we don't have internet as well. Right? Because, akhi, do you not know how women walk around? And then, wallahi, one of the worst places I could have gone through by transit was Turkey. It was a summertime, right? Al-Ajib. In the airport was absolutely horrible. Someone who's been away for 4 years. And then it began to make sense what he said to me. Imam Shafi'i lost his memory, guys. Because of what? He looked at the bangles on a woman's ankles. It affected his memory. Let alone anything else that we might end up seeing. And these phones, my brothers and my sisters, are destroying our pursuit of knowledge. With the amount of things that we look at. You think this is not going to affect your memorization or your pursuit of the Quran? Today, kids, you bring them to madrasa, right? And mashallah, once upon a time they had great zeal and to memorize. But then all of a sudden that motivation is gone. He's disinterested. Why? They have these phones. And what they keep on looking at, what they keep scrolling through, this is destroying your heart. So here, my brothers and my sisters, is what? لزوم الطاعات واجتناب الخطيئات والتقوى لرب البريات. To have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jalla, to stay away from sins and to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to do. This ilm, my brothers and my sisters, that we learn must be acted upon. حتى فالعلم بالعمل فإن أجابه وإلا ارتحل. Ilm made a phone call to action. Either he accepts the call, otherwise he will leave. That's exactly how ilm is, guys. Either you act upon that knowledge, you will see it running away from you. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, ليس العلم بكثرة الرواية إنما العلم الخشية. Ilm isn't collecting narrations. Ilm, my brothers and my sisters, is khashya, acting upon that knowledge. Oh yeah, I was going to say to you guys, why did he go to Waqi'? Does anyone know? Does anyone know why he specifically went to Waqi'? Imam Shafi'i, when his memory got affected? Jameel. Waqi' ibn Jarrah, as Ali ibn Khashra mentioned, I believe that was his name. He said, ما رأيت بيد وكيع كتاب قط. I never ever saw Waqi' carrying a book. Never. إنما هو الحفظ. Everything was from the back of his mind. Right. So then he was asked, ما دواء النسيان? What is the cure for forgetting? He said, لو أخبرتك أتعمل به? If I was to tell you, you're going to act upon it? He goes, yeah, wallah. He said, ترك المعاصي ما جربت مثله قط. Leave off sinning. I've never tried anything like it. Abdullah Mas'ud, he said, إني لأحسب الرجل ينسى العلم بالخطيئة يعملها. Right? I believe that if someone now carries out the sin, he's going to forget that which is memorized. Likewise, Imam Malik has a similar answer. Ibn Hajar, when he talks about Hafid ibn Sanad, he says, وَنَسِيَ غَالِبَ مَحْفُوظَاتِهِ. He forgot the majority of what he memorized. He was a Hafid. You don't get this title Hafid, guys, unless you've memorized 100,000 hadith. So Ibn Hajar is talking about this individual. He says he forgot the majority of what he memorized, حتى القرآن, even the Quran. ويقال إن ذلك كان عقوبة له لكثرة وقيعته بالناس. They said that this was a punishment because of him always speaking about others. He forgot even the Quran, guys. And the statements are many, guys. I'm running out of time. So how do we do, brothers and sisters? The more you learn your knowledge, the more you have to act upon it. Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi was asked about somebody who writes a hadith and he just collects and collects and collects. He says, ينبغي أن يكثر العمل به على قدر زيادته في العلم. The more you note down, the more you act upon that knowledge. You come to class every week, guys. We go home. Is it just we? With the book. We put it down and then we just get on with our lives. I learned a hadith today. Let me go act upon it. Imam Ahmad was like that. Allah raised him. Someone done hijama on him. He gave him. Same way the Messenger did. Whatever hadith you learn, okay, write it down. you should have a notes on your iPhone. Okay, all the stuff that I need to act upon. Who from amongst us has that? ليس العلم بكثرة إنما العلم الخشية. Ilm is not just collecting information, guys. Attending classes. Okay, well, how is it actually affect? What can I do now for it to affect me in my life? Another practical thing to be doing, my brothers and my sisters. قال بعض السلف كنا نستعين على حفظ العلم بالعمل. The way we used to memorize information is by acting upon it. Anyone who is here Hanbali? What do the Hanabila do before they start their wudu? You guys are tired, huh? Huh? Yes, wajib. I believe it's wajibah. You have to do basmalah. Or should I say tasmiyah? Difference between tasmiyah and basmalah. What's the difference between tasmiyah and basmalah? Good. It's a schoolboy error if we mix the two together. أحسنت أحسنت. الحنابلة, they say you have to say Bismillah. It's wajibah. Before you start the wudu. Okay, I learned this now. I'm going to go into the bathroom. Even though I might be Shafi'i, like all you guys. Huh? Let's study Shafi'i here, right? Study Yasin, where you at? Huh? But there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, at least they agree amongst themselves that it's still a sunnah. Still a sunnah. Or just because I am not Hanbali, I'm not going to do it now. No, go and do it. It'll stick with you. You studied fiqh. Go and act upon it, guys. Otherwise, you just see all that information will disappear. So he's saying, كنا نستعين على حفظ العلم بالعمل. Ibn al-Qayyim is quoting the Salaf of the past. The way we would make the ilm stick is by acting upon it. Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi, sorry, it was Imam Ahmad, he said, سبيل العلم مثل سبيل المال. إن المال إذا زادت زكاته. Knowledge is like zakah. The more money you have, the more zakah you have to pay. The more ilm you have, the more what? Zakat of that you have to pay. What does that mean? Two things. Number one, right? You give it back to the community. It could be your brother that you give it back to. Someone that you teach, you will see that knowledge increasing. Number two, acting upon that knowledge. At-talib ilm, my brothers and my sisters, it is not appropriate for him to leave off the night prayer. Right? ينبغي لطالب العلم أن يعرف بليله إذا الناس نائمون. I believe it was Muhammad Sirin who said that. Or one of the other great scholars. It is important that the talib ilm, he is known for his nights when the people are asleep. Right? This is a time, brothers. Where Allah Azza wa Jalla comes and he's saying, come, ask me. Do we not want the knowledge? Right? Even Muhammad Sirin rahmatullahi alayhi says, even if it is the length or the time that it takes to milk a cow or a sheep. Do you milk a sheep? Huh? Huh? I'm talking about the milk. Does milk come out of the sheep? Yeah, sure. Or is it a cow? You guys need to go back to Somalia. Huh? Sheep got milk? They don't agree. They're all saying no. Huh? Huh? But do sheep's milk, does it come out of it? Huh? They send you guys back. So it was actually Abdullah ibn Mas'ud who said that ينبغي لطالب العلم أن يعرف أو لحامل القرآن أن يعرف بليله إذا الناس نائمون. Someone who's learning the Quran, he should be known for his nights while the people are asleep. Muhammad al-Sirin then said ليكن لك حظ من قيام الليل ولو بمقدار حلب شاه. Even if the time that it takes to a shah, he was actually right, sheep, the time it takes to milk him, take it out, Might take what, 15 minutes? That's the time at least you should wake up and do the qiyam, the night prayer. Or if you can't wake up in the last third, at least you're doing it in the beginning. And perhaps Allah will open that gate for you of standing up in the night when you show Him that you are waking up in the beginning of the night. Not waking up, but at least doing the night prayer. Because you could do it at the beginning of the night. But it's better to do it at the end. القاعدة الثالثة. Number 3, guys. You have to work hard. You have to work hard, guys. You can't expect to acquire knowledge by just relaxing. It's not a university lifestyle, my brothers and my sisters. You know how they relax at university? They go partying at night because they've done great throughout the week, or everyone just gets together just relaxing. You can't apply this secular, right, way of studying with al-ilm. It's a completely different ballgame. It's a completely different ballgame, guys. You can't expect to acquire all of that knowledge by just being relaxed, guys. By just being relaxed. أخي لن تنال العلم إلا بستة سأنبيك عن تفصيلها ببيان. Imam Shafi'i says, oh brother, you're not going to acquire knowledge unless you 6 things. ذكاء وحرص واجتهاد وبلغة. He says, having intelligence, وحرص, eagerness, اجتهاد, also what? To strive hard. وبلغة, and having also a little bit of money. Money helps. وصحبة أستاذ وطول زماني. Number 5, accompanying an ustad. وطول زماني, and also it takes time. Can't expect that, knowledge is going to be acquired in a short period of time. And it may well be, my brothers and my sisters, that you have to change the people that are around you. Agreed? If you're hanging around with lazy people, is that haram? Let me ask you guys a question. Hanging around or looking at a lazy person is allowed? Is it haram? Do you get a sin for it? Huh? Okay, sure. No, you don't. You don't get a sin for it. But why would the Salaf or the scholars of the past say, don't look at even a lazy person? Forget about hanging around with him. Don't even look at him. Why? Well, what does that do to you? It will end up affecting you guys. What you look at affects your behavior. It's not just the people that you hang around with, but people that you look at. That's why some of the Salaf of the past would say, so and so individual, when I look at him, it reminds me of Allah. So if they felt, I just want to remember Allah, I'll go look at him. They'll say, go and visit that person. It helps you remember Allah Azza wa Jal. But when you sit around a lazy person, actually subconsciously it will creep in. Right? Even if that individual is your friend, you have a goal and objective. It's going to affect you, believe it or not, brothers and sisters. I'll tell you guys, there was a brother who I knew in Yemen. Came extremely zealous, enthusiastic about seeking knowledge. Wallahi al-azim, brothers and sisters, he would hang around. Brothers, he would sit with them in their rooms, doing all-nighters talking about marriage. Talking about marriage. I have to switch off the mic again, huh? That video was dangerous, guys. Huh? Are you guys with me? Talking about marriage. Wallahi, I remember he was so zealous. And I would warn him, stop hanging around these people. Not that they are innovators or not that they are saqa. Akhi, they're tulab al-ilm. But they stay up the whole night and then the whole morning they sleep and then they come out after dhuhr. Huh? That's when we're going to seek knowledge. I don't want to tell you guys exactly what happened to him while he was there and how this affected him because of the thoughts that he kept on having. Huh? But the bottom line is he ended up leaving. Oh, I need to get married. I can't control myself anymore. Wallahi, he couldn't control himself anymore. If you're sitting every day talking about marriage, what do you think that's going to do to your desires? Sitting around talking about different women. And you'll see that when you go abroad, there will be people like that. And to my sisters as well. sitting around talking about men. Huh? So you must work hard, guys. Cut out these individuals who might not necessarily, don't look down at them, but this is not for me. I'm here trying to fulfill my objective. I'm going to do my own thing. And it may well be that you have to do your own thing. Right? Constantly waiting for others. Brothers, wallahi, it will just drag you back. The people have to be on your program. Or if they can't be on your program, they will have their own program that gets them to the masjid. But waiting around, okay, let's go together. Huh? Brothers, it will just end up affecting you in so many different ways. They'll drag you back. القاعدة الرابعة, number 4, brothers and sisters, اختيار المكان والزمان المناسبين. When memorizing, my brothers and my sisters, here it gets a lot more practical. That you choose a time and also a place that is munasib, right? That is suitable. Ibn al-Jawzi says, وَلِلْحِفْظِ أَوْقَاتٌ مِّنَ الْعُمُرِ فَأَفْضَلُهَا الصِّبَى. He says hifd has times, right? That can be very, very helpful. And then he says the best time to memorize and to study is when you're what? Younger. When you're young in age. Some of you guys are thinking, okay, probably not for me now, right? Yes, the asal is that you should try to take all the information in when you're young. As Hassan al-Basri mentioned, العلم في الصغر كالنقش في الحجر. Right? Studying knowledge when you are young is like carving into a stone. Having said all of that, my brothers and my sisters, many of the companions, they memorized the Quran when they were old in age. Wallah, just yesterday, subhanAllah, was it yesterday or the day before, I came across a video where a man was saying that he memorized the Quran in 4 years and he surpassed the age of 60. My brothers and my sisters, many, many years ago, back in 2012, I think it was, when I left Yemen to go for Hajj, I was sitting in the Haram area, Mecca, and I was reciting and I made a mistake. There was an old man right next to me who corrected me. Old man, white beard. He said, no, you said it wrong. And then, to my amazement, he ended up bringing all of the verses that are similar to that one. Well, I put down whatever and I just looked at him. Is this guy normal? And he said to me, he started memorizing the Quran after he had surpassed the age of 60. And I started testing him. He knows the mutashabihat, the similar verses. He goes, Surah Al-Anbiya has got this extra word. Inna hadihi ummatukum. Wa inna hadihi ummatukum. Right? And fattaqoon fa'budun. Very quickly like that. It left me, wallahi, in shock. So he's saying the best time is when you're young. Your kids, my brothers and my sisters, that you guys plan on having, fill them up. Just drop things to them while you guys are walking. Drop a hadith. See, he'll pick up very, very quickly. He says, وَمَا يُقَارِبُ مِنْ أَوْقَاتِ الزَّمَانِ وَأَفْضَلُهَا عَادَةً الْأَسْحَارِ. He says the best time to normally memorize is the time of the sahar. الوقت الذي يبدأ من ثلث الأخير من الليل إلى قبيل طلوع الفجر. The last third, when it starts, all the way up until Fajr, that's the best time to memorize, he's saying. وأنصاف النهار. He also says midday. والغدوات خير من العشيات. The mornings are better than the evenings, he says. And then look what he says. I find it's very interesting. وأوقات الجوع خير من أوقات الشبع. Or الشبع. When you're hungry, it's better than when you're actually full. Has anyone ever tried memorizing when he was like full to the brim? After he's burped, he starts picking up the Quran and memorizing. What do you think? You just want to fall asleep, guys. Or you eat a little bit, but to make yourself full to the brim. And then he says, ولا يحمد الحفظ بحضرة خضرة وعلى شاطئ نهر. He says, it is not praiseworthy, or it's not befitting, should I say, right? And he says, you'd rather not memorize when you are in a place filled with greenery or with a nice scenery, or on the coast where you have rivers, or on the riverbank. Why is that, guys? Very good. And the lovely greenery, wow, scenery is beautiful. Or the river, it's moving. What is the big distraction today? Because I don't think a lot of you guys live on the banks of rivers. And you live in this gloomy British place, where it just rains all day long. What are some of the things that distract an individual? My brother said city lights. Phones, guys. One of the best things that ever happened to me and my brothers and my sisters was that I didn't buy internet when I went to Yemen, when I went to Medina. Even in Yemen, we didn't have internet, by the way. We lived in if you wanted the internet, it was, the dialer. Tick, tick, ting, it would be like that. AOL, that's it. And even then, guys, like, it would take so much time to get to your page that you wanted. And it was like a motor that would, generate the electricity over there. And when I think back, subhanAllah, that was actually a blessing on the people over there. Right? When I came to Medina, my brothers and my sisters, I went to buy internet. I think this is like the third day in. I went to the shop and I realized that I forgot my, what do you call the thing that you put the SIM card in? People carry these banks, Not modes, what do you call it? Dongles. Put your SIM card inside of it. Well, I forgot it at home. I was like, oh, subhanAllah, I need to go back. The next day I came back, I realized I forgot my bank card. Third time, wallahi, guys, I stood at the door and I said, did the last 2 days happen for a reason? You know yourself, Muhammad, and we have to stop being in denial. I'm one of those guys, when I receive messages, I get, I need to help them. Right? However, if I don't know, then it's not like mandatory for me to respond, right? I never bought internet, guys, for the first 4 years of my stay there. Wallahi, I say this, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Yes, every now and again when my dad would send an Umrah group, I'd buy something so cheap to just get me by. And then when everything went online due to COVID, we had to buy internet. They put internet into our rooms. Well, it was one of the worst things they've done to the students. I've seen people bring in PS5s. Wallahi al-Azim. By the way, not everyone there is how you think. Some people, they are just there to get by, Some are doing secular studies over there. So they get together and... But this is one internet done, You need good, strong connection. He says, وَالْخَلْوَةُ أَصْلٌ. Being alone is an important principle. Okay? Being alone. He then also goes on to say, Ibn Jawzi, وَجَمْعُ الْهَمِّ أَصْلُ الْأُصُولِ. Making sure that you get yourself together, focused, is a very, very important principle. To be focused. Right? As for your head being all over the place, there's 101 things that you're thinking about. You need to be focused. And then he says, وَتَرْفِيهُ النَّفْسِ مِنَ الْإِعَادَةِ يَوْمًا فِي الْأسْبُوعِ لِيَثْبُتَ الْمَحْفُوظ وَتَأْخُذُ النَّفْسُ قُوَّةً. He says there has to be a day where you just kind of like move away from that memorization. Right? Maybe you do muraja'a. You revise, if that makes sense. And then he gives the example of, bricks that you lay. There is a day that you have to leave, sah? Anyone ever done bricklaying? You put it together, and then there has to be a day where they leave it for it to become solid. حتى يستقر ثم يبنى عليه. And then after that, he takes a couple of more bricks and then he builds on top of it. Agreed? Also Ibn Jawzi says وإصلاح المزاج من الأصول العظيمة فإن للمأكولات أثرا في الحفظ. Right? Again, he talks about the focus. Making sure that you clear your mind. And then he says, what you eat has an effect on your memorization. Did you guys know that? What you eat has an effect on your memorization. Look what Muhammad Shihab al-Zuhri said. ما أكلت خلا منذ عالجت الحفظ. I never drank vinegar from the time I began to treat my memorization. طيب. Our Sheikh, he commented on this, Sheikh Amir Bahjat, he talked about, here they talk about being focused, clearing your mind and whatever have you. However, is that always possible, guys? With the trials and tribulations of life, if we constantly keep feeling sorry for ourselves, oh, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, we are living in a life of ibtila, tests. We have to learn to adapt, my brothers and my sisters. He's saying, yes, it's better to have a free, clear mind, but let's be realistic here. Right? الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم. It's a life of trials and tribulations. You're going to go through difficulties every now and again. Especially if you're trying to take this path of seeking knowledge, shaitan's coming after you. Know that. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, الشيطان أحرز ما يكون عبد حينما يهم من الخير فإذا دخل اشتد عليه. He will come after you the moment you intend to do some good, and the moment you start it, he's going to clamp down on you. That's a shaitan for you. Especially when it comes to seeking knowledge, because seeking knowledge is his biggest fear. Because you are now planning to destroy his tricks. Isn't that so? We have to learn to adapt, guys. Because problems never finish. I have to learn ways now to busy my mind away from these things that are happening. Some of the scholars of the past, you know what they do, guys? Whenever a letter came through, because they would go and seek knowledge, a letter would come through the post, they would just put it in a box. Another letter box, another letter box. After he's done, maybe 2 years down the line, he would start opening and then he realized, oh, subhanAllah, so-and-so passed away. Oh, subhanAllah, 2 years ago when I received this letter, so-and-so got injured. Not that I'm saying, my brothers and my sisters, that you're going to be completely oblivious of what's happening with your family. But you get my point? They would look for ways now to block away that which would affect their minds. Because in Medina, it happens to a lot of people. Right? It happens to a lot of people. Your parent who never knew, who never needed you, all of a sudden calls, I just need you. And then once you come home, Jazakallah khair for coming back. It's, I've seen it happen so many times. But Dad, you made me come back. What did you need me for? Because no, I just needed you. Can you see how the shaitan comes through people? Number 5, my brothers and my sisters, القاعدة الخامسة ضرورة تصحيح قراءة المتن قبل حفظه. That which you're memorizing, my brothers and my sisters, you need to make sure that it is correct. The matn, the text that you're memorizing, must have the correct tashkil. Because if you memorize wrong, it's going to be so hard to correct. And I will put my hand up and admit that this happened to me. Wallahi, I memorized certain parts of the Quran wrong. And it was so hard to correct it. When I was in Yemen, I used to read to the teacher like that. It's a Malaysian, Indonesian thing. Where you read a juz, 20 pages, you know in how long? 5 minutes. What are you, akhi? Huh? When you would read it in 12 minutes. I was doing a 13 minutes. I was trying to get to my teacher's level 12 minutes. But wallahi, my brothers must have ended up being my biggest regret. Because what happens is the letters, they start merging into one another. And he's just hearing like the sound that sounds correct. Yani. And wallahi, I picked up so many mistakes and it stuck with me for ages. I cried, guys, wallahi, in front of some of my teachers when I went to Medina. One time even my teacher said to me, Akhi, do you recite in Warsh? He goes, have you been learning Warsh? Now you're trying to, because of the naqal. Because I was reading it so, you know, the huruf when, because you know, those who understand Warsh, there's naqal. Wal ard. Huh? You guys know what I'm talking about? Maybe you don't. But anyways, he made the letters go. He goes, oh, I think you're Moroccan, eh? He goes to me, you think you're Moroccan? You used to do the Warsh. Nah, brother. So you need someone who's going to like correct you when you're reading to him. Huh? Who's going to make sure that every letter is coming out properly. And this is taken what? Directly from a teacher. تسمعون ويسمع منكم ويسمع ممن سمع منكم. This is how the deen was transferred. Hearing it directly. And then someone coming and taking it directly from you. Does that make sense? As for just going off the books, guys. يظن الغمر أن الكتب تهدي أخا فهم لإدراك العلوم وما يدري الجهول بأن فيها غوامض خيرت عقل الفهيم إذا رمت العلوم بغير شيخ ضللت عن الصراط المستقيم وتلتبس الأمور عليك حتى تكون أضل من توم الحكيم. Poetry says, the smart guy thinks, that the books are going to guide him. Thinking because he's so smart and intelligent. And this ignorant person doesn't realize that there are certain things that when you read, it's very hard to understand, that even the people who had intellect struggled with. And then it says, if you decide to now seek knowledge without a sheikh, you will go astray from the right path of seeking knowledge. And then it says, you will start mixing things up. And you will go astray just like Tom al-Hakimi. Have you guys heard of Tom al-Hakim? Tom al-Hakim. His father was a doctor. And after his father passed away, right, he inherited all of his books. So he began to become a self-proclaimed doctor. So one time, he came to a passage of the book that had the cure. It said, Al-Habbatu Sawda, which means black seed. Al-Habba with a ba, right? Al-Habbatu Sawda. Shifa'un min kulli da. It is a cure to every illness or ailment, right? However, he had a copy of this, which he read, that was spelled out incorrectly. You know what he said? Instead of Al-Habba was Al-Hayya. What does Al-Hayya mean? The black snake. Al-Hayya to Soda means the black snake. So a snake. Hayya, Habba. What's the difference? The ba and the ya. فقرأها الحية السوداء شفاء من كل داء. So the way he understood it was that the black snake, it is a cure for every sickness. It was said that he was looking for a black snake, and eventually when he found it, it bit him, which led to his death. Others mentioned that before he passed away, right, he was the cause that so many people passed away. He would find these black, and that is all because what? He decided to go straight to books. Don't think that you're some smart and intelligent guy. I'm going to sit in a maktaba. I'm going to take all the information in. So many guys that go astray that we see talking nonsense online, brothers and sisters, who can't even read the front cover of a book. He's reading things and I'm thinking, Akhi, what are you talking about? Because of how he's misunderstood it. Due to taking knowledge directly from a book. When it comes to a mushaf, my brothers and my sisters, I always advise that you use one mushaf. That you use one mushaf. And that you make your correction with a pencil on this mushaf. Does that make sense? Some people, the way they are is, today he's here, takes up a mushaf. He takes another mushaf. You need to know your mistakes. Sometimes you mispronounce something and the teacher corrects you. Make sure you never ever make that mistake again because you've underlined it. Make sure you never ever make that mistake again because you've underlined it now. Who's that one that's typing all this information? Oh, mashallah, Hassan, jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you. The rest of you guys are like Imam Bukhari, right? You're taking all the information in, What's your name? Umar, mashallah, is writing down as well. The sixth principle, guys, التكرار ثم التكرار ثم التكرار. Repetition, repetition, repetition. This will protect that which you have memorized from slipping away from you. The people of knowledge, this is how they would operate. They would what? Memorize the knowledge and then repeat and repeat and repeat. وكرر العلوم فالتكرار خير معين إذ به يصار إلى اكتناز العلم وهو أفضل كنز وفيه لذة لا تعدل. Allah. Poet, he says, make sure you repeat the knowledge. Keep repeating it. It is from the greatest of assistance. إلى اكتناز العلم وهو أفضل. And then he says, once you've repeated and repeated and repeated, it comes with a sweetness, right? That cannot be compared to anything. Years go by and that which you, subhanAllah, repeated so much 5 years ago is still there. Now you need it, khalas, just you do a little bit of a, and then it comes back again. And that's because you solidified it. You may forget, but when you go back now to revise it, it just takes you a little bit of time. And that is because the foundation was so strong. There are people who memorize the Quran and they make it so solid, like bio is like water, guys. And then he forgets it. But then when he needs to revise it just takes him a couple of months and he's back again. And that is because the foundation was solid. I come to alhamdulillah, because people get busy at times, let's be honest. Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi كان يكرر درسه 100 مرة. He used to repeat his dars 100 times. Abu Bakr al-Abhari كرر مختصر ibn Abd al-Hakam. He repeated this book, right? This مختصر by Ibn Abd al-Hakam 500 times. وابن عطية الأندلسي المفسر رحمه الله, he repeated Sahih al-Bukhari 700 times. Take a little bit, brothers and sisters, and repeat it a lot. Our Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, right? He would say the following: تقليل المقدار وتكثير التكرار والمداومة والاستمرار. Take a little bit, however, repeat it a lot, and then remain consistent and persistent on it. I'll say that again. تقليل المقدار, you take a little bit. You repeat it so much, and you remain consistent and persistent on it. When you take in a little bit every day, eventually it turns into what? An ocean. Like raindrops. I'm running out of time, guys. Muhammad ibn Abi Hatim, he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was the companion of Imam al-Bukhari. I one time said to Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari yawman, when he was alone, is there a dawa? Is there like a medicine that someone can cure, that somebody can consume, take in, that will perhaps help him with his memorization? He said, I don't know of anything more helpful to his memorization than one having that zeal and that desire, that drive to continue and to also constantly go over that which he's studying. Number 7, guys, ارفع صوتك عند التكرار بمقدار ما تسمع نفسك. Raise your voice when repeating. You know, my brothers and my sisters, this is very, very important now, guys, right? هذا بالتجربة. There's 2 stages to when or to what an individual goes through when it comes to being a proficient memorizer. Number 1, you need to be able to sit. You need to be able to sit, guys. And you have to train yourself. Is that clear, guys? What time is it? 33. 12 minutes. You need to be able to sit. You have to train yourself. Who from amongst you here can sit for 2 hours straight? Without getting up at all? 3 hours, 4 hours. Numbers are going to decrease. 5, 6, 7. There are people, brothers and sisters, they will sit 7 hours straight and not move. And you train yourself like that. You hold yourself. Just sit. Huh? Hold yourself. Today you do an hour. It's like weights. Hour and a half, 2 hours, 3. And eventually, guys, just like everything. Just like weights. Memorization is like weights. Sitting is like weights as well. It's not easy, but you have to train yourself just like everything else. That's one thing. And then after you've learned to sit down for long periods, you have to now utilize that time, right, to move your tongue. I remember I have this written down, subhanAllah, I wrote it down maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. It says in here, the incident in the haram when the Yemeni brother came up to you. Yes. There was a brother, Yemeni. He was growing up in Saudi Arabia all his life. He was memorizing Bukhari and Muslim. Right? I didn't realize this, but he was actually watching me when I was reading to the teacher. He used to watch me. Right? I used to read very quickly to the teacher. And he came up to me, he goes like, what is it? Give me some advice. And I noticed that there was an issue before when I used to watch. These brothers would always be in the haram. Wallahi, guys, they would sit there for hours. With his friend, always together. However, when they're sitting down, they're already one step ahead, right? Or one step forward. They would sit there, but they wouldn't be moving their tongue. So I said to him, Ya Akhi, I've observed you for a very long time. However, I just didn't know how to come up to you. Now that you came up to me, I'll tell you. MashaAllah, you've been given half the pie, if that makes sense. You are able to sit, and that's something that many people can't do. And secondly, which is what? You just sitting and not moving your tongue is not going to be much of a benefit. Does that make sense? So you have to, again, train your tongue to what? To move for long periods of time. Right? Number 8, my brothers and my sisters. الحفظ القليل الدائم خير من الكثير المنقطع. A little bit of hifd that you do, which is consistent, is better than a lot that you jump into, which then leads you to be disconnected. Did everyone get that? Sometimes, you know how you have that zeal, I'm going to memorize 5 pages of the Quran just one time, and then he does the second day, and then he's burnt out. Does it happen? When you first start seeking knowledge, you're jumping from East London to West London, North London, and South. You're taking all the information in, and then eventually you burn yourself out. Take a little bit, تقليل المقدار وتكثير التكرار والمداومة والاستمرار. Take a little bit, repeat it, and then be persistent and consistent on it. Even Ibn al-Jawzi said this, تقليل المحفوظ مع الدوام أصل عظيم. It's a very important principle, taking a little bit while you are continuous. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, our Shaykh Amir Bahjati said, did you know أنك إذا واصلت وواظبت على حفظ بيتين فقط, if every day you just memorize 2 lines of poetry, right? Every single day for 4 years when at a university. Because in Medina, it's 4 years. It's 2 years Arabic and then 4 years in the faculty of your choice. He said if you just do 2 lines of poetry every day, 2 lines, you know what you're going to memorize in 4 years? سلم الوصول, number 1. الأرجوزة المئية, right? 100 المعاني, تحفة الأطفال, نظم الأجرمية, النظم الصغير, والنظم الجلي. It's a Hanbali madhab. 963 lines of poetry. إن كنت حنبليا, he said if you're شافعي الزبد. And if you are مالكي أسهل المسالك. والقواعد السعدية, right? ونظم في الآداب وطرفة الطرف في مصطلح الحديث. All of this in 4 years. That's if you just do what? 2 lines of poetry every day. Wallahi, brother, this is an ocean of knowledge. But what happens? One's excited, he's jumping from one thing to another, and eventually he gets nothing, guys. It's just a little bit here and there. Does that make sense? And you have to understand, my brothers and my sisters, also that the tariq is far. It takes time. If you keep telling yourself, oh, that's long, man. من استطال الطريق ضعف مشيه, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned. Whoever keeps telling you, oh, he's long, he'll become weak. When you think about it, right? If you tell yourself, oh, that's long, I can't get there, you've already kind of like become demotivated, if that makes sense. Maybe tell yourself, "Akhi, let's do it. It's not even that far. It is far, but you're telling me it's not even that far. I can do it." Can you see the mentality? How important it is? Do not rush, my brothers and my sisters. ولا تكن مستعجلا في الطلب ما فاز عجلان لنيل الأرب لا يجتني ذو النخل منه الرطب دون انتظار نال فيه تعبا. If you're somebody, my brothers and my sisters, who is trying to grow a palm tree, it's going to become ready in the summer, right? And then you see it now, coming out in autumn, it's getting there, but it's still not there yet. Would anyone in their right mind, after having spent 2 seasons, start taking these dates off the palm tree, brothers and sisters? It's not a smart thing to do, is it? That's why, don't be mustajil. He's saying, اليوم علم وغدا مثله. Today you take a bit of knowledge and then tomorrow likewise. من نخب العلم الذي تلتقط يحصل المرء بها حكمة وإنما السيل اجتماع النقط. It's like said, raindrops. And then it becomes an ocean. A little bit every day. Also, Imam Az-Zuhri rahmatullahi alayhi says, فإن من رام أخذه جملة ذهب عنه جملة ولكن الشيء بعد الشيء مع الليالي والأيام. Whoever tries to take knowledge as wholesale all at once, he will end up leaving it all at once as well. But every day, little bit. And with the days and the nights, you will see yourself having accomplished a lot. Number 9, my brothers and my sisters, المراجعة المستمرة. Continuous muraja'a, revision of what you have memorized. You put all the effort into memorizing so much, and then you just let it go. No, you have to follow the up with what? Muraja'a. Otherwise, you're just going to end up eventually wasting your time. The more you memorize, the more revision you have to do. Someone may ask me now, okay, how many pages should I memorize? I think I've got strong memorization. It just depends on how much revision you're going to follow the up with. If you're doing 3 pages, you have to be doing a lot of revision. And this is when you need time. So it's something that is circumstantial. People are different in it. Does that make sense? People are different in it. What also helps, my brothers and my sisters, when it comes to al-muraja al-mustamira, is to find a partner where you have these back and forths with, right? Al-ilmu bayna al-talamid, as the scholars would say. Knowledge is gained amongst the classmates, students, where they revise with one another. The revision that you do with your friend tends to stick a lot more than the individual revision that you do. It's like a cheat code to take the information in quicker. When you're sitting with your friend, you're going back and forth. It tends to stick a lot more. Does that make sense? Right? Have a jadwal. Today I'm going to get up with my friend, or maybe on the phone, advancements in technology. Right? And then today I'm going to be maybe doing my own muraja'a. The next day I'm going to be repeating X, Y, and Z. Make a jadwal for yourself. There's so many statements that I have written down here with regards to having a partner that you revise with. Imam Nawawi would say, مذاكرة حاذق في الفن ساعة أنفع من المطالعة والحفظ ساعات بل أياما. He says, sitting with someone who is skillful in his science or in his field for an hour is a lot better than sitting for hours just going through books. Just having that back and forth. Wallahi, it makes that ilm stick. And you start, maybe opening up to certain things that you weren't aware of before. Number 10, my brothers and my sisters, الاستعانة على تثبيت المحفوظ بالاطلاع على شروحه. Right? Seeking assistance or using the shuruhat, the explanations of that which you are memorizing, to make that which you are memorizing strong and solid. Does that make sense? To make it strong and solid. You're memorizing something now. Look up the explanation of that, or get an explanation from it. Try to understand what you're memorizing. Brothers, when they were memorizing the Quran, guys, they would have an English, translation next to them. So they have at least an idea of what they are memorizing. It does help it stick. It does help it stick. Even Shaykh Abdul Karim al-Khudayr would say, he said it's more than once, طالب العلم الذي يديم النظر في الشروح تتولد لديه ملكة يستطيع يتعامل بها لفهم السنة من غير شرح. The one who always looks into explanations and goes through the explanations of the scholars. He may even reach a point where he can explain the hadith without having an explanation in front of him. Right. Wallahi, there's a lot I've written down, my brothers and my sisters. This knowledge needs to be memorized, guys. I'm finished. I'm going to conclude now, ya Shaykh Ibrahim.
I have one question. It's about point 7.
Okay.
You said raising the voice when you're repeating.
Not shouting, but just,
Are you saying that this helps with the memorization in itself?
Yeah.
As opposed to if someone's repeating quietly?
Yes. Okay. Our Shaykh Salih Usaim would say, لا بد من حفظ. ومن ظن أنه ينال العلم بلا حفظ فإنه يطلب محالا. You must memorize. Whoever thinks that he will acquire knowledge without memorizing, he's chasing the impossible. Right? Our Shaykh Salih Sinni would say, if you really want to become solid, when it comes to طلب العلم, you have to combine between these 3 things. Number 1, there has to be a fair share of memorization that you do. Number 2, a fair share of classes that you attend. And number 3, a fair share of reading that you must do. Right? A fair share of memorization, a fair share of attending classes, and a fair share of reading books. They go hand in hand with one another. Wallahi, guys, there is so much. I've just been hurried up. Right? There's so much more that I could have mentioned of statements and sayings of the scholars. These principles, my brothers and my sisters, I mainly took it from our Shaykh Amir Bahjat. It's important that when we benefit something from someone, that we attribute it back to them, just out of respect. وهذه قواعد نظمتها من كتب أهل العلم قد حصلتها. جزاهم المولى عظيم الأجر والعفو مع غفرانه والبر. That's what Imam al-Sa'di rahmatullahi alayhi done. Right? And to thank our teachers when they have benefited us. Wallahi, these statements really benefited me. And I hope it benefits you guys as well, inshallah ta'ala, from these mountains that he has quoted, that I put together in this. Right? I took the 10 points and I just elaborated on it by bringing some of the shuruhat, some of the different benefits that I came across, to make it a little bit more explanatory and easier to understand. Right? May Allah Azza wa reward our teachers. The poet, he said, إِذَا أَفَادَكَ إِنسَانٌ بِفَائِدَةٍ مِنَ الْعُلُومِ فَلَازِمْ شُكْرُ أَبَدًا. And this is how I always conclude my classes. Anyone has benefited you with anything, always be thankful. Right? وَقُلْ فُلَانٌ جَزَاهُ اللَّهُ صَالِحَةً وَقُلْ فُلَانٌ جَزَاهُ اللَّهُ صَالِحَةً وَأَلْقِ الْكِبْرَ وَالْحَسَدَ. Right? Say so-and-so benefited me, and get rid of your hasad. It could be a classmate that benefits you, that you attribute it back to him. He's your classmate. It's hard on the nafs, I know. And get rid of your arrogance. Right? May Allah protect us from those who were mentioned in this line of poetry when the poet said, وَعَلِّمُهُ الرِّمَايَةَ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ فَلَمَّا اشْتَدَّ سَاعِدُهُ رَمَانِي. Every day I teach him how to shoot archery. When his hand or arm became strong, the first person that he shot at was his teacher. وَكَمْ عَلَّمْتُ نَظْمَ الْقَوَافِ فَلَمَّا قَالَ قَافِيَةً هَجَانِي. Every day I teach him how to put lines of poetry together, and the day he was able to put a line of poetry together, the first person that he's dissed was his teacher. Before they, you know how you have diss tracks today? Before they had what? Diss poetry. They would put lines of poetry together and they start shooting at people's tribes and everything. Jazakumullah khairan, guys. May Allah bless every single one of you guys. And may Allah make you all mesmerizing memorizers. If that even makes sense. May Allah bless you all. Jazakumullah khairan wa ahsanallahu ilaykum.